Hello and welcome back into continuing module 5 that we had talked about the Indian knowledge system in society, economy and governance. Now in lesson 5.1 that we had talked about Vama, about Ashrama, about Dharma, the social ethics and harmony. Now in Vama, we had talked about the four societal segments that were there. And we had talked about the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishnavas, and the Shudras. Now, these were societal segregations of the society on the basis of the skill sets that they had. Then we went on to talk about ashrama, the stages of life. Now, in these stages of life, we did see that all these stages were according to ages and the skill set and the ability, the physical ability that could happen with age. And with the presence of both, the epicenter was dharma, what it actually led you to. So we saw that the societal norms that were followed then were a fluid system and they were not very rigid. But as gradually societies became stronger and firmer, these societal norms became more rigid. And with the rigidity came inequality and injustice to the lower castes also. However, in today's world, we talk about the Constitution talks about equality and fraternity and justice for all social races, whichever caste, whichever sect that they belong to. So we need to keep continuing to believe in equality. With today's module, again continuing with the Indian knowledge system in society, economy, and governance, in lesson 5.2, we are going to talk about Kautilya's Arthashastra and public administration. Now, Kautilya, as we've read in former modules, was there at the time of Chandragupta Maurya. So he was there and he formulated the Arthashastra for the empire to fall into public administration, into fall into good governing system, which the governing system that we still have. We still have panchayat systems. So the panchayat system also was developed there in earlier forms to maintain administration and governance. Kautilya, known as Vishnugupta and Chanakya, was a prominent ancient scholar, philosopher, and economist, best known for his treatise on statecraft, politics, and economics called the Arthashastra. Now, the word Arthashastra itself means that everything that he made or everything that he propounded had some value system in it, had some meaning, had some logic in it. He was a key advisor to Chandragupta Maurya, the founder of the Mauryan Empire, and it is credited with helping him establish the empire. So, for the smooth running of the empire, that we say that he went about to making or developing or formulating the Arthashastra. The Arthashastra at that point in time gave a stable framework for the sort of a government setup to run in an empire, to make things easier, to make the economy easier, to make hierarchy, whereas governance was concerned, easier. So when he made hierarchy, he may have also developed a responsibility with each hierarchy that followed. That made people and the system fall into place so that things were not overlapping and there was a certain decision making authority over whichever area, be it economy, be it statecraft, be it the Indian politics. Kautilya's Arthashastra, an ancient Indian treatise on statecraft, economic policy, and military strategy, offers profound insights into public governance that remain remarkably relevant even today. Now, when we say remarkably relevant even today, we talk about all the governance that we have, whether we have it at the state level, whether we have it at the village level or whether we have it at the national level for the country. So we do have a strong civic system. So the civic system was there then also, which was developed by the Arthashastra. Written by Kautilya, also known as Chanakya, the prime minister to Chandragupta Maurya in the 14th century BCE. The Arthashastra provides a pragmatic and comprehensive guide for rulers to establish and maintain a stable, prosperous, and a secure state. So we now also can compare and see that for a region or for a country to be stable, we need to have a stable military system, a stable governmental system, a stable economic system. So all this was brought about or incorporated into the entire Indian system by Kautilya in his Arthashastra, which is fairly detailed, and the same process is being followed now as well. Kautilya's Arthashastra's layout a comprehensive framework for public governance, prioritizing the welfare and prosperity of the state and its people. So when we say that for the people, by the people, so that is what it meant then also. And now we will talk about some of the core principles of his public governance, which were important then. And we still have a very strong public governance framework in which we all fall under, and we still live by those regulations. We may not call them rules, but yes, statutory regulations. People-centric governance, or the Yogakshama, the key principle of Yogakshama. The ultimate goal of the state and the king is the happiness and welfare, the Yogakshama, of the subjects. Kautilya famously stated, in the happiness of his subject lies the king's happiness. In their welfare lies his welfare. So it is a continuous process, and it is more of a combination process, including everyone, not only the governance, but the people who followed that governance. He shall not consider as good only that which pleases him, but treat as beneficial to him whatever pleases his subjects. So, this was basically, as we've just read earlier in the previous slide, that he was the prime minister of the court of Chandragupta Maurya. So, they strongly believed in equality then. They strongly believed in the welfare of the people living in the kingdom. And once the welfare of the kingdom was sorted out, automatically the welfare of the people came into play. Now, what was the implication of the same? This is the foundational principle emphasizing that the state exists for the well being of its citizens, not for the king's personal gratification. Now, everyone has their own sets of value and own sets of benefit, but then to run the empire successfully, to run the empire with prosperity, the Arthashastra was put into place. This includes ensuring social security, economic stability, and justice for all. So now our constitution still talks about the same. Our constitution does talk about social security. It does talk about economic stability, and we have an uniform economic system. And where we say it is equal for all, then yes, justice. When we talk about justice, we talk about the courts where anyone and everyone can approach with whatever problems or with whatever grievances that we have. Strong and centralized authority with accountability. Now, wherever there is authority, wherever there is responsibility, there comes accountability also. It's not that responsibility goes without any answerability. So every position that is held in the public administration, in the governance of a nation, in a kingdom or the empire, accountability does come into play. So what were the principle that was developed then? Kautilya advocated for a powerful centralized state with the king at its apex. So the king was the controlling authority, but then everything functioned for the benefit of the general people along with the kingdom. possessing ultimate authority. However, this authority was coupled with immense responsibility and accountability. So, yes, responsibility and accountability, when we say that, in English, there is a saying which says, heavy is the head which bears the crown. So, even if the king was supposed to make a small decision, he was eventually accountable. He was eventually answerable for whatever he said, whatever he executed, whatever he decided. The king and his officials were considered servants of the people. What was the implication? A strong state is necessary to maintain law and order, protect against external threats, and implement policies effectively. Accountability ensures that power is not misused and that the administration remains responsive to the needs of the populace. So now also, I mean, we are running a parallel system. It was brought about or framed then, but we continue to follow it, and it will be there for good governance, for equality, for justice. Meritocracy and ethical conduct of public servants. Now, for all those people who held positions then, positions which enable them to decide, to decipher, to discern, and help the general public with regular governance and administration. Now, the principle of that factor is ministers and officials should be selected based on their competence, integrity, loyalty, and knowledge. So, competence is a very large factor. Until you're competent, until you're skillful, you don't have the knowledge, how can you run an office? That is not possible. So, all that was a fair play then as well. So, people with good competence, people who had integrity, people who were loyal, people who were knowledgeable were voted to these various positions rather than their birth or social standing. So we did see that in Varna there were social standings also, but that was not the deciding factor. The deciding factor was the skill and the ability of the person. Kautilya also laid down strict codes of conduct to prevent corruption and ensure honesty in public service. So, if there was responsibility, there was accountability. There was a framework that they had to fit into. They could not have gone or crossed the boundary of that framework. Implication. This promotes an efficient and honest administration by emphasizing merit and deterring corruption. So, merit based on their integrity, based on the knowledge, based on the competence, that give them the framework, and then deterring corruption. They were encouraged not to be corrupt. The state can attract and retain capable individuals committed to public service. Now, people who had a good value system, good knowledge according to the job that was at hand, they were voted to be public servants. About the sound economic management and fiscal prudence, that is the Artha. So, the principle, a prosperous economy is vital for a strong state. Kautilya provided detailed guidelines on taxation, fair and not excessive. Taxation was important so that the kingdom could earn money. Trade, agriculture, mining, and resource management. He believed in state intervention when necessary to ensure economic stability and prevent monopolies. So, in those times also, fairness was propounded upon, and it was laid emphasis, as we can see in the Artha, the sound economic management and fiscal prudence that was brought about by Kautilya. Implication. Economic policies should aim for growth, wealth, creation, and equitable distribution of resources. So it was not that the rich became richer and the poor became poorer. So everyone, according to their social status or according to their economic status, were given an equal opportunity to grow and to prosper. A well managed economy generates the revenue necessary for public services and national security. Justice and rule of law, the Danda principle. Kautilya emphasized a comprehensive legal system with fair and impartial administration of justice. So, implicated then, and we continue to follow it. The king was responsible for upholding the dharma, righteousness, law, and moral duty, and ensuring that laws were applied uniformly with appropriate punishments for crimes. Now, when we say uniformly, then we talk about equality now, that it is a benchmark, be it from any social sect, be it from any economic sect, any background. What was the implication? A just legal system maintains social order, protects individual rights, and deters criminal activity. The king's adherence to the law is crucial for legitimacy and stability. So the king had to be benchmark himself to let the system follow through. And had he not been a benchmark, then people obviously would not have fallen into line. Vigilance, intelligence, and information gathering. The principle: the king should maintain a robust intelligence network to gather information on both internal and external affairs, detect conspiracies, and monitor the conduct of officials and the general populace. So the king was responsible for maintaining all the framework, all the basic things that were there, like the external affairs, tie up for trade with other countries, other nations, other empires, and detect conspiracies. So there was a spy system then also, and we still have a spy system that is sometimes used in military intelligence, and also monitor the conduct of the officials which were made in charge of different areas. Implication: this is for maintaining state security, preventing sedition, and ensuring effective governance by having timely and accurate information for decision making. So, a lot of discernment went into play, but the correct information was also a part of it. Strategic diplomacy and foreign policy. Principle: Kautilya provided intricate guidance on foreign relations, including the Mandala theory, circle of states, alliances, warfare strategies, and the use of various diplomatic tools: peace, war, neutrality, marching, alliance, and double policy. The implication: the state must be adept at navigating international relations to protect its interests, expand its influence, and ensure its survival in a competitive world. Pragmatism and adaptability. Now, the principle of it was Kautilya's approach was highly practical and result oriented. So, any action that we have will have its own results and consequences as well. He believed that policies should be flexible and adapted based on changing circumstances rather than adhering rigidly to doctrines. Now, there were doctrines, there were Vedas, there were Upanishads, but then it was flexible how? It was flexible to enable the situation, flexible enough to accommodate the circumstances. Now, every kingdom could not have been at peace with adjoining kingdom. It could have been in a state of war, or it could have been in a state of disagreement, depending upon the resources, depending upon other things. Could be trade, could be economics, or could be like takeovers where kings fought and took over another kingdom. So there could have been discrepancies then. Circumstances could have been different, but then his approach was practical. The Arthashastra had a very practical way of handling and dealing with things. Implication: good governance requires continuous evaluation and adjustment of policies to achieve desired outcomes and respond to new challenges. Now, when we talk about governance, then even India as a region, if we see, is geographically very, very different at places. So, things applied geographically cannot be same for all the regions, and the calamities also which cannot be the same for every region. So local governance has to make adjustments in their plans, has to make adjustments in how they execute their plans so that people can be benefited. So likewise, in earlier forms also, they were making adjustment in policies to achieve desired outcomes. So these were the core principles demonstrating Kautilya's vision of a robust, efficient, and ethical state dedicated to the prosperity and well-being of its people. Now, when we see or when we say that well-being of its people, the people, irrespective of whichever varna they fell into, whichever ashrama or the stage of life they fell into, was equal for all. So, any person having any problem, any phase, any sect was they could approach to the local administration and have their grievances or their worries sorted out. And ethical state dedicated to the prosperity also. So when we talk about the prosperity means generalized prosperity, not an individual prosperity. A vision that continues to offer valuable lessons for public administration today also. So our public administration system is very strong, is very systematic, where each officer or each department would know what falls under them and how to execute it and even handle grievances for that matter. So the framework that we were provided in Kautilya's Arthashastra was very strong and stable. That basically laid the foundation to the existing political or the economic system that we still live in or live by. So, with that, we finished lesson 5.2. I hope Kautilya's Arthashastra, with its strong belief system, with its sound framework, where duties and responsibilities and accountability all went hand in hand, was a basic framework and understanding for you to compare and also understand the Indian system of politics that we follow now. Thank you.